Hey everybody, it's Peanut Butter Kong. In this video, I'm going to be talking about a method that can earn somewhere in the range of 2 to 5 times the amount of dungeon XP as a normal run. I'm going to go over some of the strategy you need to get that upwards range of this figure. Now, this method is commonly called the 80% method, which the name itself is only a part of the truth into maximizing dungeon XP. I'm going to break down exactly what this means in the video. It's a method that I've been doing for a very long time, from when it's first come out to now. At the beginning, I wasn't a true convert. It led me astray. Now, without a doubt in my mind, it's the best method, hands down. I'm going to help you out to maximize the strategy in this video. So first off is the very basics of the idea. In a nutshell, the goal is to clear rooms until you get to 80% completion in the dungeon. But you want to focus on rooms that can be cleared quickly by killing mobs, which means you should largely skip puzzle rooms, except for some of the really easy ones. Only a handful of puzzles can this really be done, such as what you're seeing right now. We could go into a trap room, hit that chest, and walk right on out. One of the big things that you want to avoid is killing mobs without any kind of stars on their head. If you notice a room has already been cleared out because the boss has been killed, go on to the next room. That's very important. You're not lollygagging in any of the rooms, you're not collecting secrets, you're literally just going for that check mark for each of these rooms. So in this room, as you can tell, there are no mini bosses, they're just mobs here with stars over their head. That's what you want to focus on. Now, let's get back to the 80% idea because we're fast approaching it in this video. The 80% is when you should die. That's the completion of the dungeon, and that's usually a pretty hard cutoff. And you're expected to die within seconds before or on top of that 80% mark. If none of the rooms around you are able to be completed and you're going to be no help, then die. So right now we're at 78%. And we just hit 93%. Everyone is going to be dying, and thus you can tell the 80% thing, it's a bit fungible. Getting that higher percent is going to give you some increased experience, what you could get otherwise. Bam, we got 900 experience for 4 in approximately 1 minute and 30 seconds-ish. Now that's way better over a normal time run, and as you can tell, we immediately hopped into a new party. That's going to be a pro tip to disband and re-invite everyone at the beginning of each level. That's really going to help you guys speed up those times in between each of those runs and avoid some issues with party members not joining or appearing as ghosts in an old floor level. Let's fast forward to the end just to make one point about dying. You can wait until you get to about the 80% mark, but if you get to a situation where you're at 79% and your team starts dying out because no one's really around any rooms and that's just what happens, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You'll get about the same amount of XP that you would otherwise, but the goal is to really just keep on moving and not waste a ton of time to make sure it's exactly 80% or above. Now let's talk about one of the most frustrating aspects of the 80% method, and besides your skill level, the largest factor of having a high XP per time goal, and that is the whole team dying. Dying quickly. So you manage to take off all of your gear and go to the nearest mob and die, sometimes whacking them to gather their attention. That's the fastest and best way. Now this guy is a holdout. He is taking forever to die, and he's actually trying. This is one thing that definitely ends up happening. The clock just keeps on ticking. And this guy is probably giving an effort. He's in a trap room. He just can't figure it out. He probably understands the goal here is to get the most amount of XP in the shortest amount of time. This leads us further on our path to becoming a master. How to meet a timely death. Just open up the trap room and no mob spawned? No problem. Just hop on top and let the watcher kill you. You like things a bit more medieval? Take an arrow. Can't imagine living in the cold? No problem. Hop into the fire. The fire's moving a bit slow? No problem. Get shot into the fire with an arrow. Would people rather watch videos of things getting crushed more than video games? Well, just in case, don't forget about these. If that was too real for you, try something more mythological, like blowing up a crypt. Doesn't float your boat? Jump into a deathmite pit. Like limited edition things, and just can't get enough of them? Jump into the lava pit. Only available on select floor runs. Fire and ice? Well, that's not exactly fire, and this isn't exactly ice, and it isn't a good way to kill yourself either. Speaking of dumb ways to kill yourself, taking off your boots for no fall damage resistance and hitting the floor over and over again is quite bad. You end up healing up basically before you could do it. When the students become the masters and there's no mobs around you, no problem at all. If you're the last person, just type warp hub and you'll get full XP. A good time to note, if you haven't reached class milestone 3, you are going to get reduced XP, regardless of the fact whether you do that warp hub or just die normally. You have an itchy trigger finger and just warp hub way too early and you're not the last person, well, you're not going to receive any XP at all. So don't do that. Let's talk a little bit about when things go wrong. This guy's AFK, everyone else is dead. And... uh-oh. Alright, well first you gotta revive yourself. One method that you could potentially think is try to take a closest mob and try to have that mob attack them. But there might be no mobs really around, and that person might be in an awkward position. Even if you do take the time to try to grab a mob and put them into contact with this person, that person might be pretty well safeguarded down a hole that those mobs won't be able to attack. Unfortunately, in this case, you're going to have to revive yourself and or your team and continue on to the Watcher and defeat him so you could go through the portal. You have two options at that point, kill the boss or even die at the boss. Since there are mobs that will be spawning around and that teammate will be transported around them, that teammate will die around those mobs. Another problem that might occur is if there's massive lag when you try to play around. If that happens, the smartest thing would be to just start over and not try to finish out a round where it could take 2 to 3 times or even longer, depending on how much lag there is, to finish the level as compared to a normal level. The smartest thing to do is to just start over. Along the same vein as if your whole team dies at the beginning of a match, start over here as well. There's no sense in just having one person to try to get to the pink room to revive everyone else. Let's talk a little bit about comparing the two modes of getting XP doing a normal run like this that we did this floor 4 in about 8 minutes. And we're checking on the chest, seeing what's going on. Other people are going to be doing the same thing. The clock's still ticking, and everyone's probably going to regroup at the end, etc. Compared to the XP run, where you're doing that tip that I suggested, where you regroup and re-disband, and you effectively have 0 time in between runs. I'm going to generalize a little bit here because I've done both of these methods when I was a lower level, let's just say 18 or so, compared to my current level 25. So the difficulty of level 4 for me has really changed quite drastically throughout this period of time. But to give you guys a little bit of a general sense where I think these numbers will fall, for an 80% run you could get about 600 to 700-ish XP in a time period of about 1.5 to 2 minutes. On a normal run with about the same team, you could be looking at a score of about 1150 and a round trip of 7.5 minutes. Basically, your XP per time in the 80% run would be about at least 3 times greater. And note, these are semi-generous assumptions. When you fight Thorn, for example, you could easily have a time start stretching into something quite abnormal. Even for a team that is quite good, they might just miss some shots. Missing a shot even once in a couple times is really going to screw off the amount of XP that you are going to get per time period overall across multiple runs. So this is something that starts really showing up the divide between these two methods. I also like looking at the results of some of the top tier players at the moment. This person in front of me, as you can tell, they're in superior dragon armor. They qualify, they're over level 30 easily. This person is using this 80% method. It's clearly one of the best methods, especially as you start leveling up. I think it's truly the fastest way to gain XP, as long as the level that you're doing is kind of easy for yourself. I remember when I first started using this method, I was a bit dissuaded. You have to recognize that you aren't getting any kind of collection or any kind of end chest or loot, so those bonus essences that you get along with those end chests aren't happening either. I do want to point out, it totally helps playing with people that's appropriate to your level, because as you saw in the beginning, if you have a reduced class milestone, you aren't going to be receiving XP. Thus, if you're playing with two high level players, it's going to be quite worthless doing this method with them. But if you're playing with two low levels for yourself, it's going to take way too long, and it's going to feel like the method isn't exactly working for you either. So thus you largely want to stay around people your level so that everyone is happy in their own way and they're all maximizing the XP for each one of themselves. I do want to point out a misconception I had. All of this mob loot I have right now, it is giving me undead essence, and it is very possible and reasonable to expect this, especially if you are killing mobs on these runs. In addition to getting undead essence, you might be getting a lot more gold or ice or dragon essences because you're going to be encountering a lot more of these mobs per that period of time that you're going to be playing this. Thus, it might actually be a decent way to get some of these essences. I would say you probably are going to be suffering on the wither essences, because probably one of the best ways to get wither essences is doing secrets and getting those end chests, which you are avoiding in this method. If you've seen this video once already, and you're rewatching this after trying this method and still notice your XP per time is not the best of what it could be, I would probably consider maybe the fact that maybe your skill level is too low for the floor that you're playing on. It's definitely noticeably much faster being able to destroy all the mobs and not having to wait for the watcher to release all of the minions as you progress on to the boss. So that's probably one of the main factors that helps contribute so much to the time per XP factor for this method. Hey everybody, that is a wrap. If you've enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like and sharing with a friend. Who knows, maybe a video about the fastest way to get XP on one of the largest servers in Minecraft might just be a video of some guy crushing an apple. Yeah, Alex, I'm not too sure about that either. These car crushing videos are just the pinnacle of content. I mean, I see why they have millions of views, and, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, there's at least one other way to have a timely death I just hadn't said.